guys, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, I want to thank you all for watching my channel and for all the nice comments. I really appreciate the support. Today I have something special planned with wood and resin. I'm in need of a new coffee table, and I really enjoy working with walnut, but I've been using walnut for most of my projects. So for this project I wanted something different. I looked online and I came across a hackberry live edge I fell in love with. This piece of wood has a beautiful grain pattern throughout. I will clean the wood, create a mold, seal the wood, pour the resin, and then finish the table. So, lass uns anfangen. The first step in the process is to clean the wood. The best way to clean the wood is with an angle grinder, but I don't have one. So I will just use a regular sander with a 60 grit sanding pad. You will also need a chisel and some safety gear. Have some glasses and also a dust mask handy. Let's go. Now it's time to sand. Make sure you get into all the little corners. In the next step, we will build the mold. Essentially, the mold is built out of two parts. It's going to be the underlayment and then the frame. The frame is just built out of pieces of lumber that are screwed together. You will also need some rubbing alcohol or something to clean the surface with. You will need a cake fondant for later for the silicone. I will show you how to use it. You will need a level just to make sure the table is level and also the live edge you put in is level. Also need some clamps and some pieces of wood to make sure that live edge wood doesn't float up once you pour in the resin. You will also need some silicone. That's ready to go. And the most important part is the tuck tape. I put a link of the tuck tape in the description. I got it from Amazon. You will cover the whole MDF plate with it, and you will also cover the frame with it. So get yourself some tuck tape. First step is to clean your underlayment. Make sure it's really clean. You don't want the tuck tape to come up because the surface is dirty. Next, get a tuck tape and a scissor and cover the whole underlayment. Once you're done covering all the parts in tuck tape, take some clamps and clamp the frame to the underlayment. Make sure the table is leveled. Up next is caulking the mold. Use the cake fondant tool to smoothen out the edges. After the silicone has dried, add the wood to the mold. Now this is one of the most important steps. Add some silicone mold release to the mold. Please don't skip this part, you might regret it later. Also, don't forget to clamp down the wood. We don't want the wood to float once you pour the resin. Now the fun part begins. We are ready for the resin. Start by mixing a small cup of your epoxy after the instructions of your manufacturer. Mix it thoroughly and scrape the edges. There is nothing worse than seeing that the resin doesn't cure right because you didn't mix it enough. So once you think you mixed it enough, just mix it another minute. Take a small brush and cover the edges of the wood board. Let the resin dry until it's a sticky consistency. This step will avoid bubbles later in the resin pour. Finally, we are ready for the resin pour. Now you can be as creative as you like to be. For the bottom layer, I picked a heavy white pigment. The theme I'm going with is a green lagoon theme. Therefore, I have the white on the bottom, which gives it more of a dimensional look. For the green, you can use any green resin tint that you have handy, or if you like, you can just buy the one I have. I will add the link in the description. Take a hot air gun to blend in the white with the green. Be careful not to pour the resin too deep, just follow the manufacturer's instructions. I chose to split my pour in half to not have the resin overheat. This is what I have so far. As you can see, the white blends in beautifully with the green. Keep checking the temperature of the resin, do not let it overheat. Overheating will damage the resin. I had to actually cool mine down because it got really hot really quick. Let the resin dry to a sticky consistency, and then it's time to put a second part. And we're back to mixing the resin. There will be lots of mixing, so don't forget to have some fun with it. That should be enough mixing. Let's finish the projects and pour the rest of the resin. Take a propane torch to pop the bubbles on the surface. Let the resin dry for at least a day. Just follow your manufacturer's instructions. Once the resin is cured, you can pop it out of the mold. It's time to take the tabletop into the workshop. Use a circular saw to cut the edges. Don't forget your safety glasses and your dust mask. Resin dust can be very harmful to you, and also once you cut the resin, little shards will go everywhere, so really make sure you wear some eye protection. Three more edges to go. Once you're done cutting off the edges, it's time to smoothen the surface. I built myself a quick and easy router sled to make this job very simple. Just slide the router back and forth on the sled to get an even surface. Oh my, look at this disaster. What do you do to protect your workshop? But it was so worth it. Look at this beauty. Now it's time to sand. We are finally at a point that we can start sanding. It's always bittersweet because I hate sanding, but I'm always excited to be finally at the point where I can start the sanding process. For the sanding, we start with 80 grit paper. The 80 grit is only there to smoothen out the surface, to take off any extra material, to make it a straight, even surface. We will use the other grits to take out the scratches from the 80 grit sandpaper. After the 80, we do 100, 120, 150, and 180. Like always, put on your safety glasses. Dust mask is very important. After sanding with the 80 grit, your board should look similar to this. Now repeat the process with the remaining grits. Make sure to wipe off the dust while you're sanding. Once you're done sanding with the 120 grit, you can take a router and round over the edges. Take a moist towel and wipe down the surface. While the board dries, let's work on the legs for the table. For the legs, I took pieces of lumber, split them in half, and filled the gaps with resin. Let the resin fully cure before you take the pieces out of the mold. After, run the pieces through the planer to get a smooth, even surface. Sand the table one last time with the 180 grit sandpaper. Once you're satisfied with your sanding job, it's time to apply the finish. I'm using Rubio Monocoat. Apply the finish on the underside of the table and let it dry. Once dry, drill holes for the inserts to attach the table legs. Make sure you screw the inserts in straight and be careful not to split the wood. Now it's time to attach the table legs. I assemble the legs by using pocket holes. Once the legs are attached, apply the same finish to the legs as well. Flip the table over and apply the finish to the surface. And we are fertig! Once the finish is fully cured, the table will have a matte sheen to it. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked the video, please press the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. See you all next time. Tschüss!